Hi there, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and today I have a card showcasing the May 2016 card kit. My card today shares masked stamped images to repeatedly stamp the adorable umbrella image from the stamp set included in the kit to create this rainy day or sunny days ahead themed card. To start, I have trimmed down a piece of watercolor cardstock, but white cardstock included in the kit to 5.5 by 4.25 inches. Then I stamped the umbrella image first. This is the first stamp that you stamp, or the first image is going to be on the forefront of your card. So it's going to be kind of the one that pops out. Everything else is going to be behind it. That's why we're doing the mask. So I've stamped off the image again on some masking paper and cut it out so that I can start stamping my additional umbrella images. Go ahead and put that in place. I'm going to ink up my umbrella again and stamp it again. Now before I stamp it the third time, I realized the face was over that masked part of the image, and I liked that. I liked the idea of the face only being on the umbrella on the forefront of the card. To achieve this, I'm going to create a mask or use a little piece of Post-it tape to place over the face on my stamp, ink it up with the black ink, remove the mask, and then adhere, or the Post-it tape, and then stamp the image on my background. It sounds kind of confusing, but once you get in the rhythm of it, it's super easy. I'm just using little scraps of Post-it tape. I place them over the face, ink it up, remove the Post-it tape, and then stamp the image. I have 2 umbrella image or masks that I am using. That's all I'm going to use for the entire card. By simply picking them up, moving them around, I am able to get by with only these 2, and that includes when I go ahead and do the inking for the background of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and keep filling in all of this area. I've got another couple I want to do here on the right side of the card. Have one hanging off the right edge. And then I forgot to stamp the handles there along the bottom, so I filled that in. And once I got to this point, I thought I really need one kind of a little bit higher. So I placed my masks in where they needed to go, used a little Post-it tape to mask off for the handle, and I'm going to have one umbrella that sticks up a little higher than all of the others. Now there's a little faint place on that umbrella and also down below on the handles. That's okay. Instead of running the risk of maybe messing it up if I tried to stamp over it again to get a little bit crisper lines, I decided that I would just go in with a black pen and draw those lines in here in a little bit. That way I didn't run the risk of ruining all of my masking. I thought rainbow colored umbrellas would be super fun, so I started with the pink umbrella and then moved to the red, and now I'm on the orange. I am coloring everything in with Copic markers. The marker colors I'm using are shown across the bottom of the screen. One thing about Copic markers, generally when I color with them, I use a cardstock like the Nina Solar White cardstock, which is a great recommended Copic paper for coloring with their markers. I use the white cardstock included in the card kit, and while it did turn out okay, I could feel the difference when coloring with the markers, if that makes sense. My markers didn't bleed outside of the lines. It all worked out fine. But when you're used to a certain kind of paper and then you try it on another paper, it just felt a little different, almost like there was some drag or something to it. So not that I would never do it again, but normally I kind of stick to what I know and love, and I would use the white cardstock for maybe my card base or something instead of using it for my coloring. I even think you can see the difference maybe a little bit when you're coloring. I felt like I had to blend a lot more than normal. I'm moving on to my green umbrella. As I get a little further over here to the right side of the card, I really feel like you can see the rainbow design kind of come to life. You could definitely color the umbrellas in any colors you want to. I happen to be partial to the kind of rainbow effect where you go from, your pinks or reds to the purples. That's just kind of something I really am always drawn to for whatever reason. go ahead and add a turquoise umbrella. I had more umbrellas than collections or color shades or whatever that I wanted to use. So I needed to add 2 in a certain color family somewhere. And whenever that happens, I always seem to go with my blues. So where I definitely was going to do more of a traditional blue umbrella, I like to kind of pull in the turquoise or aqua umbrella. It's a nice transition from green to blue. And it's just one that I always like to add. If I have an extra image of any kind in a design, I almost always go with adding a aqua or turquoise color. Moving on to my blue umbrella. Have to work a little bit to get the B21 and B24 to blend. And then I'm going to move to my purple umbrella to finish it all off. It's so easy if you flip your design upside down. It kind of is a more natural motion to color along that scalloped edge and makes it a lot easier to stay inside the line, I think. So I kind of found that out as I finished coloring, but definitely in the future I think I'll remember to flip it around because it definitely is a lot more of a natural motion, at least for me. Go ahead and blend that out a little bit. My lightest purple color really tended to lighten it more than I wanted. So I'm going to go back in with my mid-tone and darkest color and add a little bit more of that. Once my umbrellas are colored in, I'm going to take my Copic marker and kind of push some of that turquoise ink back inside the balloon line where I got outside the line. It didn't push it all the way in. Where I'm going to be adding ink to the background of the card, it's going to disguise it, but I wanted to lighten it a little bit. And the colorless blender really did help lighten where I got outside the line a little bit. For the umbrella handles, I am coloring them all in with C5 and C7. Just a nice neutral gray. Going to keep that consistent all the way through. Plus I did add a little R20 to the cheeks on the smiling umbrella. And I'm going in with my C5 and adding a little shading underneath the scallops of each of the umbrellas as well. I'll go in and add a little more shading once the background inking is done. I am inking up the background with Salty Ocean and Blueprint Sketch Distress inks. It is a little different adding distress inks to a traditional cardstock as opposed to watercolor cardstock. Watercolor cardstock is a little more forgiving in my opinion. So when I am inking up regular cardstock with distress inks, I kind of like to pounce it on rather than press it on in the circular motion that you probably see me use more often. This gives me a little more control of how much ink I'm adding at a time and helps alleviate a lot of those circle marks. You can see there are a couple of them there even though I'm trying to be careful. But it definitely helps eliminate a lot of that. So I'm pouncing it on. I usually pick up my ink with the ink blending tool, pounce it off on my background paper, and then take it to my project. Once I have the background all colored in, I'm going to go in with my Copic markers and add some shading. So I went in first with the lighter, the C5. Once I had all of that, I'm going to go in with my C7 and add even darker shadows. Where this is all flat, it's one layer. You want to try to get any dimension that you can using your markers or inks and things like that. So this is just going to give a little bit of depth and dimension to the design. I trimmed about 1/8 of an inch off the bottom of my panel, and then along the top I'm going to trim off a little area of that as well. That's why I didn't take the ink all the way to the edge. A little less than 1 inch there. So about 1 inch total taken off from the top and the bottom of the design. I'm going to ink up the raindrops from the stamp set using the Blueprint Sketch Distress ink and add a scattering of raindrops everywhere. While I concentrated the majority of the raindrops above the umbrellas, because they're supposed to be kind of keeping the rain off, I did put a few down below just to kind of make the design a little bit more cohesive or whatever, to show that maybe in the background the rain is still falling. I'm taking a white gel pen and adding white detail to all of the raindrops. just a tiny little bit. This is going to help the raindrops show up a little more. And I'm doing this before I go in with Glossy Accents and add that great shine and dimension to these raindrops. It's really going to give them a little bit more of a realistic, glossy, watery type look. I have a fine tip nozzle on my Glossy Accents, which is going to help give me precise placement of the Glossy Accents. And I'm going to cover up each of these raindrops and then set this whole panel aside to dry while I work on the greeting. I'm going to tip it here and you can see that great dimension with the Glossy Accents. On another piece of white cardstock from the kit, I'm going to stamp the thought bubble and a greeting with the intense black ink. Where there is so much color and ink going on this card, I wanted my greeting to really show up, especially since it's so small. So I thought a white thought bubble or a white background with that bold black greeting would really show up nicely against all of the bright bold color of the design of the card. I'm going to fussy cut my thought bubble there. I'll pull my panel back in to see how that's going to look, and I love that. That's really going to show up well. I'm going to take a black gel pen and add detail to the eyes on that umbrella there that's going to be saying the greeting, sunny days ahead. And then I'm going to take the glue pen included in the kit and draw a little line of glue along the top and bottom. And then I have some black scrap cardstock strips from my stash, about 1/8 of an inch wide, that I'm going to glue in place along the top and bottom of this panel. It's really going to make it stand out and show up against the white of my card base. I'll just trim off that excess there. And go ahead and attach my thought bubble with some foam adhesive. So it looks like my umbrella is saying sunny days ahead. So fun, and I love that you can mix and match the greetings to say whatever you want it to say in this stamp set. I'm going to finish my card with a scattering of the sequins included in the May kit, and I'll attach these with some bling glue dots. So once I kind of have my placement all figured out, I can go ahead and attach those, and my card is all finished. Thanks for watching this video showcasing the Simon Says Stamp May 2016 card kit. The supplies are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.